Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are tackling one of the most powerful and, let's be honest, seriously mind-bending theories in all of modern sociology. We're talking about Niklas Luhmann's theory of social systems.
This quote right here, it just perfectly nails what Luhmann called the primal scene of hermeneutic despair. It gets at a really fundamental problem of being human. You and I, we're each locked inside our own consciousness. We can never truly know what's going on in someone else's head.
And this, of course, raises a huge question. I mean, if we are all fundamentally isolated in our own little mental worlds, how in the world do we build something as massive and ordered as a society? Luhmann's answer is, well, it's radical. And it really forces you to see yourself and the world in a completely new light.
So to really get what Luhmann is doing, you have to appreciate the sheer size of the problem he's trying to solve. For him, this isn't just some dusty philosophical puzzle. He thinks it's the central roadblock for all of sociology.
For centuries, the common sense way of looking at things and the way most sociology was built is that society is basically just the sum of its parts. And those parts are us, right? Individual people with our actions and our intentions. The human being is the star of the show.
But here's where Luhmann slams on the brakes. He says, look, if you start from the idea that our minds are inaccessible, then trying to build a theory of society based on the intentions inside those inaccessible minds, well, you're doomed from the start. It's like trying to build a bridge out of fog. It's just not going to work. So we need a totally new starting point.
And what Luhmann proposes is a massive paradigm shift. He's asking us to just throw out our old assumptions and put on a brand new pair of conceptual glasses. Glasses that are inspired by something called general systems theory.
Okay, so let's really dig into this, because this is the first huge step. The old way of thinking sees the world in terms of parts making up a whole. Luhmann says, nope, forget that. The single most important distinction in the entire universe is the one between a system and its environment. The focus shifts away from us, the humans, and onto the system itself.
So what does that actually mean? Well, a system is just anything that creates a boundary between itself and, well, everything else. And that everything else is its environment. Now, the crucial part to get here is that the environment isn't some objective, static thing. It only exists in relation to a specific system. So the environment for your body as a biological system is totally different from the environment for the global economy as a social system.
Now, this basic idea of a system and its environment was kind of floating around already. But, and this is where Luhmann makes his genius move, he combines his concept with a revolutionary idea he finds in biology. And that's when things get really, really interesting.
This brings us to a really powerful, almost counterintuitive concept that explains how these systems actually work and stay alive. It's called autopoiesis. He borrows this term autopoiesis, which literally just means self-creation. So an autopoietic system is one that produces and reproduces all of its own parts and its own boundary using only its own internal operations. It's what he calls operationally closed. It doesn't import system parts from the outside, it makes them itself, from itself.
The best way to think about this is a living cell. You know, a cell doesn't go to the cell store to pick up a new cell wall or some mitochondria. No, it uses its own internal machinery and its existing components to constantly rebuild and regenerate itself. That's how it keeps on being a cell. It's a closed loop of self-production.
Okay, so this leads us to the absolute money question. If social systems are autopoietic, if they're self-creating and operationally closed, then what are their basic components? And here's the kicker. If they're operationally closed, then human beings, with our weird organic bodies and our totally inaccessible minds, we have to be part of the environment of a social system, not part of the system itself. So, what on earth is the system actually made of?
Luhmann's answer to this question is the very heart of his entire theory. It's incredibly elegant, it's kind of shocking, and honestly, it changes everything.
The basic element, the fundamental stuff of any social system, whether it's a quick chat with your friend or the entire global economy, is communication. Not people,
communication.
Now, what's so interesting here is how specific Luhmann is about this. See, a single communication isn't just the word someone says. It's a three-part package deal. There's the information being selected, the utterance of that information, and the understanding of it by someone else. This whole unit is an event. It happens, and poof, it's gone. But, and this is the whole game, every single communication event creates the possibility for the next communication to link up to it. So society is really nothing more than this endless, self-creating, autopoietic chain of communications talking to other communications.
Right about now, you might be thinking, okay, this is a fascinating but super abstract theory, so why does it matter? What's the point? Well, the point is that it gives us this startlingly effective toolkit for making sense of the weirdness of our modern world.
And this table just illustrates it perfectly. Think about these huge social systems. Does the economy care if you're a good person? Nope. It only understands one kind of communication: payments. Its entire internal logic is just profit or loss. The legal system, it couldn't care less about moral truth. It only processes legal communications, like court rulings, and it only operates on a code of legal or illegal. Science communicates through published papers, and it judges them based on the code of true or false. These systems have a life of their own, following their own weird rules, and they are often completely indifferent to our individual hopes and dreams.
And here's one last, really fascinating implication of all this, represented by the number 2. Luhmann's work actually helps bridge that famous gap between what we call the two cultures, the sciences and the humanities. By describing a universal process of self-creation, his theory gives us a kind of shared language to talk about a living cell, a court case, or even a poem. It's a framework that can connect totally different fields of knowledge.
So the crucial takeaway here, and the thing I really want to leave you with, is this. Luhmann doesn't just give us a new theory. He gives us a new way of observing the world. So what happens when you start looking at the world through these glasses? What changes when you stop seeing your workplace as just a group of individuals, and you start seeing it as a closed system of communications, reproducing itself according to its own logic, with you as part of its environment? It's a perspective that might just change the way you see everything.